Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, PattSun, and today we're going to be taking a look at r/cheating stories, where we will see exactly how open relationships end. Let's begin. My wife cheats on me while I was deployed in Iraq. Posted by Reddit user Weedeater84.
While deployed, wife wanted to encourage being open while I was deployed since we had fun and good success with it before the deployment. Couple months before coming home, she meets a barista owner of a terrible coffee shop called Raven's Nest, where she frequented daily since her job was around the corner. She eventually started talking to this guy and then started breaking every rule we had so she could be with this guy. Fast forward to me being home again. She had claimed they broke it off and ended it, not to find out she was still seeing him behind my back not even a week after being home. She then claimed that was the end and they weren't talking anymore, while also saying we have grown apart and need to get divorced, and blamed the deployment for being too hard on her. While trying to figure all this out and save my marriage, I was willing to forgive and move on if she was. Going into her birthday weekend, we were getting ready for a trip to Georgia, and while cleaning the house, her MacBook was on the floor. When I picked up the computer, it wasn't locked and I found everything. She was talking to him the entire time I was home. She even spent 3 hours at his house the Friday before, saying they just hung out and kissed a little. Nasty argument ensued and she wanted to go to counseling and focus only on us. That lasted a couple days and we head to Georgia, only to find she has a guy down there that she's made out with and he greets her with a kiss. Thankfully I didn't witness because I'd have lost it. But old barista makes another appearance on her computer, stating he's willing to step away from her till she available, basically promising to wait for her. I didn't address this at the party, but next morning go look at her phone and again see a notification from him, which at this point isn't out of the norm to see at this point. So I tell her he messaged her. And that's that. Divorce is obvious at this point, but for the sake of the kid needed to hold it together. Now on to last night. I take the kid to a friend to watch the Royal Rumble since that's what he chooses to do for his birthday. We leave early getting home and she isn't where she said she was. Full of rage, I whip the truck around going straight to his house. And there her car is. The next part I'm actually pretty ashamed of, but it's how it happened. I go to beat on the door and instead see it's not shut all the way, so I walk in. Walking into his room, I see my wife laying on his bed and this heavyset naked man climbing on top of her with a comforter covering them. I turn on the light and see the look of fear on both of them as she tries to walk out. He goes to say something and I lost it, imped on him, hitting him in his face, and my so-called wife is attacking me to defend him. A lot was said and done before I left to go home, and she stayed behind to check on him. Called my family to get help with my son because I started having breathing issues. She came home and started fighting some more in defense of this guy. Police arrive. My son is taken away with his godfather along with my guns and keys to my truck. Police talk to the guy and he doesn't want to press charges cause how would that affect him? Owner of Raven's Nest in Culpeper, Virginia, assaulted by combat veteran for sleeping with wife while deployed. Headline like that would definitely ruin his business. Now I'm the bad guy living alone, turning to Reddit as my therapy.
OP. Hopefully now you can focus on yourself and your kid. As much as this hurts, you deserve to be with a spouse that is actually your partner and is willing to follow the boundaries that the two of you has set together. OP. Take care of yourself and your kid. Have as little contact with her as much as possible. And one last thing, hopefully you have kept the evidence. You should expose the affair partner, his business, and your wife to everyone that you know. However, we can't rule out that she may have also been lying to him about the conditions on which they could fool around. But regardless, kick her to the streets where she belongs. Follow through with a divorce because she clearly doesn't respect you, your kid, and your marriage. Our second story is from r/Am I the Asshole? Am I the asshole for not wanting to adopt my dying ex-girlfriend's child? Posted by Reddit user TemporaryCook76.
I met my ex-girlfriend on a dating app 7 years ago. She had a son, 6 months at the time. She was with multiple guys and ended up pregnant. Still doesn't know who's the bio father, but it wasn't that much of an issue since she seemed like a great person and we had a lot in common. After a few weeks of chatting and talking online, we went on a first date and had a great time. After that, we just started hanging out whenever she could, and shortly after she introduced me to her son. Few months into our relationship, we moved in together to save money, since both of us were renting at the time. I started helping take care of her child whenever I could and we really grew fond of each other. He even started calling me Papa and we just went along with it since my girlfriend didn't mind. Almost 5 years into our relationship, She told me that she wants to break up because I became boring and not an active person like I used to be. We used to go on hikes and travel around the country on weekends, and that I worked too much. It was a rough time after that, and I had a hard time accepting it, although not as hard as having to explain to a 5-year-old that he'll no longer be seeing his pop. But I managed to get over it after a few months, found a better job that allowed me to work remotely, and had a lot of free time, so I managed to explore a few other countries. Few days ago, I got a call from my ex. She said that she is sick and is in hospital. They removed one of her breasts, but recently they found a tumor in her other breast and will need to have it removed as well. She is scared that she might die if it doesn't work out, and asked me if I would be willing to become her son's legal guardian and adopt him, since she has no one else to ask. I live a different lifestyle now, travel a lot, and invest in myself, so I told her that I can't do that. She told me that her son misses me and would love to see me, but I said no again, and she started crying and calling me names before cutting the call. I talked to my sister and parents about this, and they told me that it's a fucked up thing to refuse it after all those years spent with them. I feel like trash now. Am I the asshole for not wanting to adopt my dying ex-girlfriend's child?
OP, you are absolutely not the asshole. If my math was correct, you two broke up about 3-ish years ago, which is a long time for a young kid. Of course, he would remember you, but it's not like that the two of you are still close at this point. If we were to believe her story and the said timeline, I have a strong suspicion that she broke up with you because she got the diagnosis and just didn't want to burden you with a dying lover. But I guess for now, it's time for OP's update.
Thanks everyone for the responses and messages. Quite a few have asked for an update, so I thought I'd make a quick one. After I made the original post, I've spent a bit thinking. I reached out to her friend trying to get some info about. She didn't want to say much and told me that I should come over. I ended up going. Ex and her friend were there. Kiddo was at school. Honestly, felt completely different than I was expecting to feel. Anyways, she had the other breast removed. Quickly found out that it spread out and she was just starting with her therapy. Ex suggested to stay until kid returns. I remember what you guys said, but I just couldn't do it. I stayed because I just wanted to see. I guess some of you were right about him remembering me or not. Walks in, says hi, and disappears somewhere, I guess his room. Walks back after a minute and starts staring at me, Papa, and runs at me. Ex starts crying out loud and I tear up, barely holding myself from crying. I don't know if it's because of her crying or because of kiddo remembering. It was a great day. To cut it short, I started visiting her 2 to 3 times a week, but sadly things were starting to get worse. Seeing her getting weaker and weaker, I decided to go through with the guardianship. Hired a lawyer, did tons of paperwork, interviews, investigation, and finally found the bio dad. Ex narrowed a list of people, and even without the DNA test, you could see from miles that kiddo was a mini version of one of the guys. Both ex's mom and bio dad signed the consent and waiver, but even if they didn't, they probably wouldn't have a chance to make a difference. After 2 months, judge made his decision and I finally became a legal guardian. Sadly, ex passed away roughly 3 months ago, after which I started the adoption process that still goes on. Had 2 court hearings so far and another one will be in 2 weeks. So far things went well, so hoping for the best. I know that I missed a lot of details, not sure if it would be important, but also due to the character limit, but I will be answering any questions you guys have in the comments below.
OP, you, sir, have a truly good and loving heart. You did not have to do what you did, and many people would have understood if you had refused. But I can't imagine anyone could look at you right now and feel anything but respect. You chose to do a truly good thing, even though you absolutely did not have to. I hope that you and your son will have a good life together, bring each other joy, and provide strength and support to each other when the hard time comes. Good luck. Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my YouTube channel for you to watch absolutely free. So consider clicking that super thanks just below the video title, or you can use my PayPal in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, make sure to subscribe to PattSun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.